Thank you. Good morning. My presentation is Advancing Pavement Preservation Through Certification, and we all know the importance of pavement preservation, but what does certification have to do with it? And let me explain this. In the United States, anybody can bid on a pavement preservation project. There's no criteria for knowledge, there's no criteria for experience, and that can be a problem. We have many good contractors, but then we also have contractors that lack the experience and the knowledge to do the proper things for pavement preservation. My presentation outline, I'm going to give you a little background on why certification exists, the certification framework. I'm going to talk about the importance of certification for agencies and for the contractors. How did all of this come about? The Federal Highway, the United States Federal Highway Administration and AASHTO, back in 1974, said that we have to tighten up our standards as far as knowledge for building new projects. This is big construction projects. And so they developed and they talked about a process called certification for soils, for concrete, and for asphalt construction. And so it took a while to develop this process, but there were some conditions that they thought were very important. First, it had to be nationally applicable. It could not be by region. It had to be a national approach. It could be individualized for individual people or companies. It could not be discriminatory, and it had to be based on competency, and that was very important. So in 1976, for the large construction projects, there was a certification requirement that was on a voluntary basis. States could adopt it if they chose to do so, and what we found is all states have adopted this certification process for your large construction projects. So people in dealing with soils, concrete, and asphalt pavements now are certified. What is the goal of certification? Well, this goal is what we all understand, and it's quality control by the contractor, it's quality acceptance by the agency, and then we want this independent verification activity to continue on, and people have to understand this. And many of these contractors and many of the agencies do not quite understand what needs to be done when we're dealing with pavement preservation. Because in the United States, pavement preservation is perhaps 20 years of experience. And so we need to move forward. What's the value of this certification? Well, it reflects a degree of achievement that the individual has met. It establishes credentials, and that's important because all of us in here have credentials of some sort through our training and education. It improves the skill and the knowledge of the practitioners. It offers recognition from the peers, and it also demonstrates this commitment to preservation, because we have to have a commitment in order to advance preservation. We have talked during this summit about the importance of design. We've talked about the importance of materials. And yet, there is no value without good workmanship. The workmanship is the capstone of this activity. Our long-term plans, our asset management, our pavement management systems have no value if we cannot deliver the performance that these treatments should deliver. We have to be able to build them right in order to get the performance and the life-extending values to the pavements. This is not typically what we see. We could have 50 good jobs, 50 great projects, and if we have one project that turns out bad, the agency will say, we will not build this type of work anymore. And so we cannot afford to have failures. Our projects are very large, many, many miles. Often they're done at night. They're always done under traffic. We always have traffic. And there's a lot of restrictions in order to do these projects. So we may have 50 good projects, but if we have one bad project, that sours everybody on doing pavement preservation. This is an example of a poor chip seal. Nobody would want this type of work. This is an example of a microsurfacing. Nobody would want this type of work. It's got poor texture and it's got ripples in the surface. This is an example of a poor crack treatment project. We do not have many of these, but we cannot afford to have any of these. We also have another concern. We have an aging workforce, and many of these folks are retiring, and we no longer have experienced workers, so the new people coming in lack the knowledge and they lack the experience. And it takes considerable time to train people. And with a younger generation, they may not stay. So it's a concern. So we began this process, and now I'm going to get into the framework, because AASHTO approved this process for pavement preservation in 2016. And it is administered through the National Center for Pavement Preservation. So what do we feel is the recipe for success? The recipe for success is not only the contractor, but the agency must be certified because they work together. It's a team. We have to be able to expand the knowledge and the experience levels on both sides. Administering a certification program requires an examination, and there are minimal requirements for this examination. We have worked closely with the ISSA, the International Slurry Surfacing Association, to develop the process. We have a very good process. We have a company certification for the contractors, and it's a performance assessment. So there's many factors that go into certification. We provide a certification for the slurry systems. That includes the micro, the slurry, and the polymer modified slurries, the chip seals, and the crack treatments for now. We are expanding this toolbox. We are expanding into other treatments because there is a need, particularly when your requirement is only a low bid system. What are the topics that the examinations cover? Well, it's project selection, because many times the wrong project is selected for a preservation project. It's too far deteriorated. But we talk about the materials, we talk about the design, we talk about the equipment and the calibration that goes into the equipment. We talk about the actual construction process itself, and then the big aspect is quality assurance, which includes your quality control, your quality acceptance, and then your independent verification. All of that is important, and every person should know about these factors if they're going to do preservation type of work. When we first started administering the examinations, there were many people that walked in, and I say with their swagger. They walked in and they thought that they understood everything they needed to know, and yet we had a high failure rate because they did not prepare for the examination. They thought they knew it, but they did not. And so we highly recommend that for pavement preservation, and through this summit, we've talked about the complexities of emulsions, the complexities of all of the other factors that go into making a good project, it requires some study. It requires some preparation for the examination. As of now, 70% of the people that take the examination can pass the examination, but still 30% cannot pass the examinations. When they pass the examination, their name, their company's name is put into a database that anybody can see that has the internet. And also they're given a card, and that card, they carry that card with them, and they can show that they have passed the examination. So when we talk about the benefits to the agency, what are the benefits? Well, obviously a person that passes the examination is a benefit to the agency because they become one of the experts. And it's not just one person. We expect many people in the agency to become certified. But they're understanding how these projects should be designed and constructed and how they should perform, what to look for when you inspect a project. That's very important. We have a process. Not everybody needs to be certified, but they should be certified around our different portions of the state. In the central office, we expect certified person. We expect at least one inspector in a region to be certified, a designer to be certified, and any consultants. And we're finding more and more consultants getting into pavement preservation, and yet many of them do not have the knowledge it takes. The agency examination is straightforward. It's not to trick anybody. It's merely 50 questions that they have to understand the answers. And the certification is valid for 3 years, not for a lifetime, but only 3 years. And then they will have to be recertified after the 3 years. Passing score for the agencies is around 50%. In the United States, ultimately the contractor, the company, is responsible for the job, not for the employees, but the company itself. And so we expect the companies to become certified, and it's important that the companies do internal training, train their employees. They also have to select employees that have critical experience to be certified. And the most important thing is the contractor company has to submit a detailed quality control plan. And these quality control plans should be very large because it's not just about the frequency of the testing, who does the testing, the tests we're going to do, but it also should be a description if things begin to go wrong, what do we do to correct them? And these quality control plans should be very large. The contractor should provide a properly trained workforce. That's very important. And like I said, in the United States, anybody can bid on the project. They do not have to have the knowledge or experience, so we're forcing the companies to have the knowledge and the experience. So there is web-based training that's available. The ISSA has completed the training. We do not worry about where the training comes from. If a university wants to provide the training, that's good. If an association wants to provide the training, that's good. But the people need to be trained. And then internally, not everybody needs to have certification, but there should be, even the lowest level within the company needs to have some training, and that can be done within the company. The ISSA has recommended that superintendents have 3 years of experience, foremen have 2 years, your equipment operators have 2 years, and then if you have an internal trainer, they should have at least 3 years of experience. And all of these people require certification. But these are the only people within the company that require the certification. superintendents, the foreman, the equipment machine operators, and the trainer. So where do we stand as far as for the contractors? It's pretty much the same. They have 80 questions because they have to know more. Theoretically, they have to know more than the agency does. And their examination is a little larger. It's 80 questions. And it's valid for 3 years, and then they have to be recertified. Currently, this is our distribution. We have certified people in these states. It is not all states yet, but we have certified people in these states. So with that, I think I finished up and maybe saved us a little time.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
So with that, we have got a few minutes actually before I go on to the next presentation. Does anyone in the audience like to ask Bernard or Gail or Larry any questions? I know we heard about we're talking about the test methods and the certification. There's a question here. Would you like to stand up?
Bonjour, je m'appelle Elasdi Khalid du laboratoire public d'essais et d'études. J'ai une petite question à Monsieur Ekman. On ne peut être d'accord avec la critique très constructive de la norme européenne qui en fait a été vidée de sa substance dans la recherche d'un compromis entre les différents États membres. Seulement, et si on veut suivre la présidente, quand elle a dit on doit parler des émulsions à tout le monde, on doit être capable à un certain moment de choisir le bon produit pour la bonne utilisation. Est-ce que vous pensez, est-ce qu'il y a une réflexion au niveau de l'Europe, à défaut d'avoir une norme, de au moins mettre en place un processus, une démarche pour le choix de l'émulsion en fonction de l'objectif recherché, un petit peu à l'image de ce qui a été fait pour les enrobés avec la détermination des différents niveaux, etc. Et cette démarche consisterait à vérifier les caractéristiques de base, des caractéristiques de performance des liants, mais il peut être étalé et étendu également aux performances sur les produits ou sur les utilisations cibles. Merci beaucoup.
Oui, c'est évidemment une bonne question et je crois qu'il y a malgré tout des réponses à cette question. C'est vrai que si on ne réussit pas à avoir cette qualité de normes à un niveau européen, il y a quand même des possibilités qui sont offertes, et notamment dans ce qu'on appelle les avant-propos nationaux aux normes, à savoir que chaque pays peut bien sûr, sans rentrer en conflit avec la norme européenne, mais il peut émettre des recommandations quant aux émulsions à utiliser, et il peut très bien faire ça en fonction de l'application, au niveau donc de ces documents d'accompagnement nationaux à la norme. Ça peut être des documents séparés, tout comme ça peut être intégré dans la norme elle-même, publiée au niveau national, par ce qu'on appelle les avant-propos nationaux aux normes. Et ensuite, bien sûr, après, je pense que c'est aux organisations professionnelles, comme l'IBEF par exemple, de faire le genre de recommandations que vous suggérez et de guides d'utilisation. Donc je pense qu'il y a effectivement, faut pas baisser les bras, il y a du bon travail qui peut être fait sans nécessairement être en attente d'une norme européenne qui va dans ce sens.
I'm sorry, I didn't have my translator on, so I don't know, did that answer your question? Was there any other questions around the... I had a general one maybe for both of you, Gail and Bernard. You talk a lot about the test specifications, maybe the need for new ones generally, for bitumen emulsions. Is it a question of investment? Is it a question of technology, or is it a question of acceptance? What's the real barrier to... There's a microphone here, I think, guys. Yeah.
It's all three.
Okay.
I mean, industry wants a quick answer so they can continue to ship and turn their tank over every day. The researchers want something very sophisticated that uses very sophisticated, very expensive tests that qualify materials and appropriately define performance better, but at a very high cost, particularly in time, and to industry in terms of the number of tanks and how quickly they can turn over specifications and whether they'll get paid. So the balance has to be something we can use that's rapid enough to get good enough information and get the selection of materials correct for the application without becoming so sophisticated it's impractical. We learned from the SHARP research. Dr. Monismith delivered a wonderful performance testing system for testing the mixtures in hot mix for performance with all the different tests. But the system was so expensive, the agencies could not afford to do the tests. And the time, it took 30 days for mixed designs.
Okay.
I have no better answers than Gail King's answer. I think it's indeed the challenges. It has to be practical as well as adequate. But again, I think much is to be solved very simply by the fact that in some cases, for instance, we have difficulties in applying a test. I'm thinking, for instance, dynamic viscosity on very low viscous emulsions. But when you think about it, maybe it's absolutely not needed to measure viscosity on this type of emulsion. So a lot can be gained by just having the right understanding. So
and focus on the specific areas that the most
There's a lot
value.
of brain work to be done before starting to actually work on test methods. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question, and it relates to what Larry Galehouse presented. My name is Jean-Martin Croteau. I'm with Colas Canada. Larry, obviously by hearing certification for the competency of people providing services and work for agencies, one thinks of laboratory certification right away. And what we're foreseeing, or what we're seeing in specifications, is DAL shall be certified. Are you perceiving or seeing that agencies are going to eventually not necessarily have pre-qualification in their specification, but ask for certification?
So did everybody hear that question? It was a bit...
We have
Just in could you just summarize before you answer the question what the...
the question was, do we see that agencies will...
Can everybody hear that? The microphone doesn't sound...
What we see is the agencies, or the question is, will the agencies require the certification in their specifications? We have seen a few agencies that have done that. I cannot say what every agency would do, but we have started to see that as a means to try to get the qualified workers into the state. And so I think that is something that is going to happen. I can't tell you how many agencies will do that, but I think it's a good thing because that way it's an insurance policy that they're not going to get a poor contractor into the agency in doing work within their state.
Just a little follow-up to that, Larry. Is there a kind of a reference to the cost of this for, I don't know, training an individual or a contractor? Is there a kind of a reference point?
Well, some of the training is online. It's for free, and we wanted to make it available. But any source of training that an employee would want to take is fine. There's many training. The ISSA offers training. They offer very good training.
So if you're a member, the training is free, or is it?
Well, for ISSA, there's a cost associated with it.
Right.
The web-based training is free, but there's many opportunities for training, I mean, within different universities in the United States. Now, what is the cost of the certification? I believe the certification is for agencies, it's $225 US, and it's a little higher for contractors, but it's not exorbitant. We try
No,
to keep the costs down so that
It's
does
not a
become
barrier to doing
deterrent.
it, yes.
Yes.
That's good. Great. Thank you, Larry. I'm going to thank you very much. If you have any other questions, you can see, I'm sure these guys will be in the coffee break, but I'm going to move on because we have still 3 presentations left. I'm going to invite to the stage Motofumi Tatsushisi Shita. I was